Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Holy Marriage Blessing, the podcast ministry of True Parents Way. And I'm your host, Tyler Hendricks. Just got back from our celebration of the 6th anniversary of our True Father's Songhwa. That took place at the HJ Chanwon, Changpyeong in Korea. Such a powerful experience, such an experience of love, such an experience of unity, and centering on True Mother's heart, True Mother's love. She guided all the international leaders. You know, the international leaders are of all ages, all races, all religious backgrounds, and all of us, East and West, North and South, of many languages, just united together. There's tremendous service, there's tremendous translation, tremendous support, and tremendous leadership. And True Mother took us all a step above the level of leadership and level of community that we ever had before. And she really brought us back to where we were decades ago, over the decades, with True Father. What was a leader's meeting? A leader's meeting with true parents back in the day was listen to True Father, attend True Parents. And True Parents set the schedule. We came, we emptied our hearts, we emptied our concepts, we united together, we focused with Hyojung on True Father, especially in front. And True Father at the end would pull out his little notebook from his pocket and read us the directions. And we would go forward from there. It was totally spiritual. It was totally vertical. It was totally Hyojung. And in the recent years, we have evolved leaders' meetings into more administrative events with lots of PowerPoints and lots of strategy sessions and lots of planning and so forth, and reports of results and etc., which is fine. God bless us all. But True Mother took us back to the day of Hyojung with True Father. She said, put it all aside, just let it go. Pray. This is a time for prayer. This is a time for meditation. This is a time for repentance. This is a time where we all, and this was unlike, combining the best of both worlds, bringing together second-gen leadership, young first-gen leadership, especially from Africa and Southeast Asia, Philippines, Oceania, and Japan, everywhere, Korea, America, first and second-gen, young and old, united together in prayer. And True Mother doesn't give long talks. That's not her style or preference. She gives very short but very powerful talks, and she just brought us together in Changyang, in worship of God, in unity, and everyone, high position, low position, and including the true family, all together in prayer, just shouting praise to God, just shouting praise to True Parents. And 3 days, that was our experience at Changpyeong. It was amazing. It was amazing. And I just got back, and I'm just trying to overcome the jet lag. So give me a moment here, and we're going to talk about the issue of duties in Cheon Il Guk. And welcome back. Now, I want to first begin with talking about the power of love. And this came up a few times in our high noon summit. The power of love is greater than the power of principle. And that's an important, very important teaching. And the power of love being greater than the power of principle, I realized it kind of implies a contradiction. I mean, it kind of separates the power of love from the power of principle. And to me, it's always kind of, well, the power of love is a lot more valuable than the power of principle. And I've sort of resolved that, and I want to share that resolution that the power of love and the power of principle actually are designed to be one. We cannot realize the power of love without perfecting the power of principle, and vice versa. So what is the principle? Principle is God's word. And of course, there's the power of love that's within every person, within every being in the universe. It's all created out of God's love. But what is the first, for human beings, or for animals, for trees, for plants, for everything else in nature, the power of love and the power of principle are totally united. They automatically follow the principle. But for human beings, we have to decide to follow the principle. That means, and the principle is nothing other than God's word. And that means that the first object partner for the power of love, for us to choose, we have to choose what to do with our love. The first object partner in principle, in God's heart, for the power of love is the principle. And that is exactly Hyojang. So why do we unite with and attend our parents? Yes, it's the power of love, but it's also the power of principle. That is the principle, that the vertical order is established and maintained by our choice, by our decision. So practicing the power of love united with the principle leads to perfection through the growing period. So when God told Adam and Eve to obey the commandment, he was just saying, what? Make the commandment the object partner for your power of love, and you will grow to perfection through the growing period. After the growing period, once you receive or achieve perfection, then love and principle are one. And so there's no distinction between the power of love and the power of principle. You can't truly fulfill the power of love without uniting with power of principle. It's like the power of principle is the Hyungsong, power of love is Sangsong. So freedom is the practice of love within the principle, which means living for others, centering on God and true parents. Centering on God and our parents. Centering on God and our spouse, etc., etc. Now that gets us into the topic of today's podcast, which is duties in Cheon Il Guk. We'll be right back. And welcome back to True Parents Way podcast, Holy Marriage Blessing. And I'm talking about duties in Cheon Il Guk, but duties is not a very, common word in today's society. Your duty, it's sort of low grade, But actually duties are really important, because if we don't have duties, we don't have any direction. We don't have any orientation or sense of, what do we do now? Duty is a very high value, actually. And I received sort of an inspiration early in the church, and maybe you've heard this song, that your lines are from above. In heaven, our lines, we're in a play, our lines are from above. The finale is love. And to live our part is our duty. That means it's our responsibility. A duty is a responsibility. That's basically it. And so I've had some interesting experiences at Changpyeong and then last night, which led me to get a sense of the importance of duty. Importance of what? Structure. Duty gives you structure. Structure gives you duties. A husband has duties. A wife has duties. Children have duties to their parents, etc. Okay, last night, I had a dream. I was in a big house with lots and lots of members. It was very crowded. American members mostly, some of whom I know, some I don't know. And there's a blessing event going on. But somehow no one seems to be leading it, and we're on kind of a break, and everyone is waiting for the next phase in the program. But nobody, that next phase doesn't come. There's no leadership, there's no schedule. So everyone's spacing out, everyone's socializing. They're kind of having a good time, but it's just kind of going nowhere. That was my dream. Now, at Cheongpyeong, on my first day there, first morning, I walked up the trail to the Tree of Blessing. And I got up to the top, and I was with a friend there, and we saw a sign I'd never seen before. There's a sign up there at the peak, at the Tree of Blessing, and it says something to the effect that there's another trail here, and it says 430 meters, at 430 m, which I took to mean 430 meters. And so we decided just to keep climbing. You know, there's the Zen Buddhist saying, when you reach the top of the mountain, keep climbing. So we took off on that trail, and it went downhill for a little ways, and then it just went steeply uphill, and it went up and up and up, and you're in the middle of the trees. There's no view. You know, the beautiful thing about the mountains at Cheongpyeong is here and there you get views of the palace, you get the views of the lake, you get the views of all the buildings. It's really beautiful, but there's no views. You're just in the middle of a jungle, of a forest. And we're going steeper and steeper, up and up. And it says, it gives us signs along the way. Keep going, keep going. Finally, we got up to the top, and it was in the middle of nowhere. There was still no view. It was just trees, just jungle. And then the trail kept going, and there were no steps. There was no rope or anything. It was just a mud trail. And it occurred to me, there were some benches there to sit on, but it occurred to me, this is an analogy, this is a metaphor for tribal messiahship. And it just triggered in my mind, this sign, 430. Why did they make the trail 430 meters long? Because we have a goal of a tribe of 430 blessed couples, blessed families, 430, multiplying vertically and horizontally. And where are most of us on that path? Actually, kinda in the middle of nowhere, kinda in the middle of the forest. We really don't know yet what to do with it. We haven't built the path. We haven't cleared the line of sight to see the palace. We need, and there's a lot of brothers and sisters, and including myself, who need this orientation. And from where do we get this orientation? From the duties of Cheon Il Guk citizens, duties in Cheon Il Guk. And what are those duties? It's very simple. Now let me first talk about duties of, in a constitution. You know what? The United States Constitution does not have a list of duties, responsibilities, or moral values expected of the citizens of the United States. It's just implicit. The founding fathers just assumed everybody knows their moral duties. You go to church and you listen to your moral duties. You find out and you got to follow that. But What about the people who don't go to church? What about where there aren't any more churches? What about where the media takes over the role of the church? What about when the lawyers take over the role of the church? This is a problem. This is the problem of our society today. So it was implicit that everybody's duty is to follow the law. That's what it comes down to. Your duty is to follow the law. It's a law-based society, rule of law. And you know how many laws there are in America on the national level, on the state level, on the county level, on the town level? There's about 400,000 million rules. Just go to a law school. You'll see the libraries full of rules. Okay, and so you follow these rules. And who makes the rules? We make our own rules. The government makes the rules, which means, we make our own rules. What kind of a society is that going to be where the people make their own rules? It's going to go nowhere. Cheon Il Guk has moral values. It has moral duties in the Constitution. Moral duties that are God's laws, God's rules. They're from God. They're from principle. They're transcendent. And, Cheon Il Guk is like what in this respect? It's like Israel. Israel had rules called the Ten Commandments, and then they made 633 laws, and that was the Old Testament level. But Cheon Il Guk does not have, like Israel had all kinds of punishments. If you violate these laws, here, you'll get stoned to death, you'll get cast out, you'll get da-da-da, etc. But Cheon Il Guk Constitution does not have any punishments listed. What happens if you don't obey, fulfill these duties? It doesn't say. Why? Because it's a parental society. You can't cast people out of your family. You can't just lock your children up. That's very, poor parenting. That's distorted, deficient parenting. Cheon Il Guk is a society centered on true parents. So there's no listing of punishments. There is, now this is not in the Constitution, but we know in our tradition, oral tradition and practice from true parents, something called the peace police. But you know who the peace police are? They're the moms, the women. Father made it clear that the women of Cheon Il Guk are the peace police. They're called to be the mothers, the moms and grandmothers. And they are the ones who aren't going to they don't cast out their children. They love their children. They work with the fathers and the husbands to discipline their children when necessary, and centered on what? On the duties. Now, what are the duties of the citizens of Cheon Il Guk? What does the Constitution say? We'll be right back. And you're listening to Holy Marriage Blessing, the podcast ministry of True Parents Way. Fresh back from Korea, grateful to be able to talk to everyone. And now these rules, these duties of Cheon Il Guk, I'm going to just go through very shorthand. What the essential? There's 5 of them. Number 1, absolute sex. That's cool, right? Absolute sex. That means absolute fidelity in marriage and sexual abstinence before marriage. And you put those together, it means no extramarital sex. That sex is reserved for the marriage bond, the marriage bed, the marriage relationship. So that's the first duty. The first duty of citizens of Cheon Il Guk is nothing other than sexual morality. Why? Because Satan stole the human race through the sex organs. And so God's going to recover the human race through the sex organs. The ultimate prize. The ultimate prize is the sex, man and woman's sex organs. That's why at the foundation, the founding inaugural event in Washington, D.C. of the Family Federation, Father's final speech was given was about the sex organs, in search of the origin of the universe. Father was saying the sex organs are the origin of the universe. They're the origin of your life. And he's walking around among the tables with George H.W. Bush and Barbara and Gerald Ford and his wife and Edward Heath and people on that stature. And he's saying, do you like your sexual organs? How much do you like them? Do you take care of them, etc., etc.? People were shocked, but this is it. And he said the purpose of the Family Federation is to preserve, to protect, and to lift up the sexual organs, to receive God's welcoming praise. This is the core. This is the core value. So the first duty of Cheon Il Guk is sexual purity. Citizens of Cheon Il Guk. Absolute fidelity in marriage and sexual abstinence before marriage. And that's why to every couple that I approached to reach 430 blessings, that was do you affirm these things? Absolute fidelity in marriage, sexual abstinence before marriage, to raise your children to be sexually abstinent before marriage. And that was the dividing line. Some people said, fell back. They moved away. They rejected. They weren't interested, etc., etc. If they were even listening at all, of course. But so many said, yeah, I believe that. Yeah, I agree with that. I affirm that. Even some who didn't want to receive the holy wine, but they would give their name and their contact information to sign a petition to support that. We are in the time when people can become citizens of Cheon Il Guk. I felt this person is a citizen of Cheon Il Guk because they believe they're the number one duty. They believe it. Okay, going on beyond that. And I felt so happy, whether they received it or not, that I was proclaiming in the parking lot to heaven and earth the standard of the duties of the citizens of Cheon Il Guk. Here it is. Okay, number 2, care for others. In other words, don't hurt people's hearts. Okay, care for others. That's number 2 duty of the citizens of Cheon Il Guk. Don't hurt people's hearts. Number 3, live for the sake of the public. Don't misuse public money. In other words, put the public before the private. Contribute, tithe, offer, sacrifice for the higher purpose, for the nation, for the world. You could read many things into that. Live for the sake of the public. Number 4, read, teach, practice, and disseminate true parents' words. And now, in Cheon Il Guk, there's no discrimination. There is a clause that there shall not be discrimination on the basis of religion, as a race, nation, age, gender, etc. No discrimination. In other words, these duties are incumbent upon everyone. So I read into, because world scripture, one of the 8 great scriptures is world scripture, which shows that the true parents' words are the essence of all world religions. You can find true parents' words, essentially the essence in all religions. So when they say, read, teach, practice, and disseminate true parents' words, it's an affirmation of all religions. It's an affirmation of the values that God put into every great religion, from shamanism on up. The values that God put there, centering on God and true parents, centering on the duties of the citizens of Cheon Il Guk. Absolute sex, care for others, live for the public, etc. Every religion. That's number 4. And number 5, conduct activities as Hundok family leaders and heaven's tribal messiahs. Heavenly tribal messiahs, which I like to say heaven's tribal messiahs. It means God-centered tribal messiahs. Now put these 5 things together. Why do I bring them up? Because these are the duties, these are the purposes. We're all sort of wandering around at the top of a trail and we can't see anything. We're still in the middle of the jungle. Father and Mother have given us the guidance. At the end of Father's life, what was his final prayer? It was that we could become tribal messiahs who represent the nation, who could reach 400. The blessing of 430, the 430 blessing by true parents was the national level blessing, representing 4,300 years of Korean history. And so reaching 430, vertically and horizontally means we represent the nation. And that was Father's final prayer, that tribal messiahs could reach 430 vertically, 430 be heavenly tribal messiahs. So this is the direction. This is all. This is what we need to do. No matter your environment, your situation, we have a very clear direction in our lives. We don't need to just sit around waiting for someone to make a program, someone to make a direction. And it's centered on Hyojang. So when the leadership does make programs centered on this purpose, we unite. This is Mother's, what Mother did at Changpyeong. Put aside yourself. Put aside your priorities, your schedule, your concepts. Let it go. Connect yourself. You aren't really connected yet. Orient yourself. Revise, refine everything you're doing based on true parents. Hyojang to true parents. Based upon, and it's very simple. True Mother doesn't have to talk a lot. Her talks are the same thing. Filial piety, Hyojang, 430, heavenly tribal messiah, Hundok families. Read, teach, practice, and disseminate true parents' words, live for the sake of the public, care for others, absolute fidelity in marriage, sexual abstinence before marriage, absolute sex. These are our duties in Cheon Il Guk. This is our moral orientation. This is our practical orientation. And that's it. That's all we need to know. And you're listening to Holy Mary's Blessing, the podcast ministry of True Parents Way. Now, how we accomplish that is up to us. We have a freedom and autonomy. We have freedom to follow the principle. It's good if we join together. True Mother encouraged us to create trinities. She said when three, and True Father said, when three are united together, you can do everything. So work together as brothers and sisters. Work together as communities. When we finish, when we make that basic condition of 430, we reach the top of the mountain, keep climbing. Help others to do the same. Work upwards on that foundation. First of all, of course, we got to reach out to the people we blessed. We got to make community. We got to network. We got to reach out. We got to talk. We got to communicate. And this is the stage I'm in right now, is how do I reach out to all these people? Over a period of maybe 3 months, I was able to give a very introductory blessing to 430, some more than that, couples. Now, reaching out through email, reaching out through their churches in a couple of cases. And that's where I'm at on my path right now. And so I can't tell you much more. Our brothers and sisters in Thailand and Philippines and Nepal, they've gone beyond that. In Africa, working with chiefs, working with tribes, working with local government. God willing, we're going to do that in America too very soon. We break through, keep going. But it's the same message. It's the same purpose. It's the same duty. And there are so many people ready to follow that way. When you get down to the basics, then so many people agree because it's in their conscience, it's in their hearts. It transcends left and right. Family transcends left and right. Family morality. There's people on the left, people on the right who believe in it, who absolutely believe in it. And we can make a common cause and we can build the nation of Cheon Il Guk. I'll just end with a short testimony. I spent a few minutes with Robert Williamson, who is our missionary for the 25, 35, almost 45 years in South Africa. And they're working getting up to the national level in that country. And he said there's two conditions for a nation to qualify as a Cheon Il Guk nation by 2020. Number one, the president's couple or prime minister couple officiates the blessing, publicly officiates the blessing, legitimates the blessing, officiates the blessing on the national level. Number two, true parents' birthday is celebrated on the national level. That's it. That's the bottom line. The next steps, of course, as we talked, are education into the public schools, into the media, education in the values, the duties of Cheon Il Guk: absolute sex, absolute fidelity in marriage, sexual abstinence before marriage, education. And therefore, as we get educated, we start to implement. And next, beside that the parliamentarians, the Association of Parliamentarians for Peace, the parliamentarians look at their own constitution and they look at the Cheon Il Guk Constitution. They affirm the Cheon Il Guk Constitution and begin to take steps, step by step, to revise their present constitution in the direction of the Cheon Il Guk Constitution. That's it. It's not complicated. The challenge begins in our own selves, to orient our own lives to fulfill the duties in Cheon Il Guk. And thank you so much for listening, and let's put all this into practice and do our best. We will talk to you again next week. Our music is by Ronan Hardiman. We heard Barber, we heard the Beatles. We're hearing right now Hyojinim. God bless them all. Let them all be resurrected into the beautiful heavenly musical realms of the spiritual world and physical world. And I'm Tyler Hendricks, your host, and I want you to love God, love your neighbor, share the blessing, and we'll talk to you again next week.